I'd like to talk a bit more about coaching and the few instruments we're having as coaches. You may have seen and observed in my coachings that I'm looking quite closely to the body, to the voice. I'm listening, trying to listen. I'm watching the eyes, the nostrils, the mouth, the forehead. I'm watching whether the body is leaning to a side, whether the whole body is moving, whether you're coming to the front or leaning back, how long you're keeping something like eye contact, knowing that eye contact in virtual meetings is a bit tricky, but it makes a difference whether you are um, not closing your eyelids for a long time or whether you're constantly closing your eyes or looking away. And you may have seen that I'm referring to where you are looking when you're thinking. So you might want to have a look on the NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming, eye movements. So there they have this concept of for most people, especially for people who are writing with their right hands, it could be different for others. So you need to make sure that your model is correct here. But if you have observed it again and again, then it's probably the same pattern in the future. So for most people who are looking to the left, it's something with their past. So they are remembering a picture. And if they're looking to the right, it's something for the future. And again, if they're looking higher, it's probably a visual thing they're seeing. So if they're looking to the right top corner, they're probably seeing a new picture, constructing a new picture. How would it look like if? And if they're looking to the left top corner, it's a past memory. And the same here on the eye level. So if they're looking to the left eye level, it's something like remembering a tone, or right side constructing a new tone. And then they're having there are also these corners of right bottom corner, it's about feelings, and left bottom corner about thinking, auditive, internal, digital thinking. So, and then there have this staring view where people are kind of watching a movie internally, or maybe even being inside the movie themselves. So these would be hints that I'm watching, and so very often I'm not addressing where people are looking because I'm not trying to have a conversation about NLP and eye movements. It is probably a distraction, but rather I'm trying to inform myself what may be happening in the mind of this person. What is she seeing? Is he more in the future, in the past? Is she connected with her feelings? Do I want to interrupt? How do I want to lead? So these are things that we can, on the one hand, observe what the body of the other person is doing, but also what we can address. So which are the things that I might address? So I'm addressing what I would address. For example, if the color of your skin would change, if you have specks here getting red, having more red skin here or here, this could mean there is some kind of agitation, some movement here. So there is more energy there, and it could be connected with some kind of regression. So people getting younger, feeling timid, feeling like a kid in school, having to go to a teacher for a test or something. So this could be a hint, but I'm not saying, are you regressing now or something? I would say, there is some color on your skin. Does it have a meaning? Is there a meaning to it? And that offers the person a clue for self-observation. So they're like, interesting. There is something going on within me, not just on my skin, of course, but in my mind, in my heart, in my emotions. So this would be a question of color, for example. Then I would address lines on your forehead, so anger or thinking or whatever you could be having, it's fear or something else. Also the nostrils, if you, this is something like, oh, I don't like it, it's like a very nasty food. And other things that are happening in your face. For me, it was very helpful to study a bit closer the work of Paul Ekman. You may have seen the movie series Telling Lies. And so this is really about Paul Ekman and his work. And he was really internationally looking at faces of people and looking for clues for emotions. And so he found a consistent pattern of emotional traces in your face, even if you're trying to control it. But even then, there is something what he calls micro movements. So very small movements, for example, of the corner of the mouth, or very small erratic thing, indicating a smile, for example, or indicating disgust, or indicating anger, or something. So it's I trained myself to look at these very small micro movements, which are, if you look at a video, they are shorter than a second. But I find them helpful because they are telling me things about what else at least is going on within a person. I'm not trying to say that this is the only truth about the person. I'm trying to say there is one truth about the person. There's something going on here in the mind. And it could be that the person is not even aware of it, him herself, what is going on, but rather that this is only one maybe hidden part that is doing some work here within the mind of the person. So we are having color, we're having these small micro movements. It could also be that you address that people have more liquid in their eyes. So they're beginning to have tears, but maybe not yet. But it starts with a wetting of eyes. For example, you can look at this. Well, we have not been talking about the voice. So sometimes we can hear how people are getting more silent or louder, but it could also be that the quality of their voice changes, higher, lower, but also getting some coarse tone. So most people, when they're getting a coarse tone, there's some kind of pressure, apprehension, fear. So there is some meaning behind it. And let's not try and construct a table where we have the left column with the observation and the right column, this means, but rather to becoming aware of it and seeing that this is an option to share it back with the person and say, there is something with your voice, there is a change here, do you observe? Ah, interesting. So people can become can get some distance to themselves, to their body, to what their body is telling them, and so that they can get a better, more wholesome conception of themselves. Yeah, it's a bit like when you start with these observations by yourself, with yourself and with others. Imagine you're an animal with 1,000 legs, and normally you won't have a problem to walk because you're doing it automatically. But then you start observing, oh, so many legs, what am I doing here really? Then it could be that it feels like you can no longer crawl or walk, but rather you're stumbling all the time over your own legs. And it's the same with observations. So you may come to a phase where it feels like, oh, I cannot talk anymore. I'm observing all the time, and I fell out of my natural flow of observing and natural flow of talking. You will get over it. So this is a phase and it's passing, and you will come to a new normal, and so that you can select what to address, even what to observe consciously, while having some observational patterns as a potential and not as a pattern, so that you don't have to observe it all the time, but rather that you can observe it if you want. All the best. Good luck.